Hey guys, this week we are talking about big winning trips and how hard it is to walk away a winner, listener questions, and a whole lot more, so stick around. This week's episode is sponsored by DG Elizabeth's new gambling thriller, The Velvet Room. Our listeners save $5 with promo code CRAPVEGAS by visiting velvetroombook.com.
Welcome to the Crap Vegas podcast.
Vegas, here we come.
Vegas!
Here are your hosts, Chris and Josh.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 75 of the Crap Vegas podcast. I am Chris. He's Josh. Josh, is this an angel number?
No, I think it can't be an angel number. I don't think angel numbers are ever odd numbers.
Oh, is that the way it works? I mean,
I'm
it felt
just
like there for a
making
while,
that
pretty
up.
much every number was one, but hey, it's a nice quarter.
It is a
quarter
milestone, right? Yeah.
It is, yeah. This
We're
is a
three
big
quarters
one.
of the way done.
Are we? That's, there's more truth in that than there is lies, I think.
Whether it's
Josh,
life or the show or whatever, right?
You never know. Life goes on. But Josh, how are you doing? Everything good?
Everything's good. Yeah, this week was, I don't know if it was midwinter break for you. Was it midwinter break for you this past week?
That was last week for my kiddos.
Okay, so we had it this week, and you know I've talked about the little town in Washington called Leavenworth before.
You have, yeah. You want me to buy a rental property there, actually.
That's true. We've talked about that. But anyway, not to promote tourism for Leavenworth, but if you're ever in Washington and you want to take a trip to Leavenworth, it is a beautiful town, winter and summer. It's Bavarian themed, which is weird in the middle of Washington State, and that's how it's a huge tourist thing. And maybe the reason I like this is because it's kind of kitschy like Vegas.
Okay, I gotcha.
Artificial creation, but it's really pretty, kind of nestled in the mountains, the base of the mountain. So anyway, we went up skiing, Chris, on whatever it was, Wednesday of this past week, I think. And there were three things that we wanted to do on this trip. We wanted to go skiing. This is me and the kid. And there's this really cool candy store, and there's a mountain roller coaster.
Okay,
So we started skiing. So we skied. The skiing was fantastic. We go, and the candy store is kind of midway between the ski resort and the town of Leavenworth. So we go down the mountain. We're heading towards the candy store. We get to the candy store. It's closed.
Oh,
And it's supposed to be open. Google says it's open. Like, why it's closed in the middle of the day on Wednesday, who knows? But it's dark and no cars there. So my daughter starts to get, unhappy about that. And so, all right, we go. I said, it's a tourist town. There'll be plenty of places to get candy. Don't worry. We'll be able to, find candy in the tourist town.
I think
and we
we're
did.
good, yeah. Good.
So we
I'm
go
glad
in,
you guys
and the
found it.
mountain roller coaster is also closed.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was closed on Wednesdays. The roller coaster was closed
Okay,
on
that
Wednesdays.
makes
So
more
anyway,
sense.
we're going to try and go back to Leavenworth so we could do the mountain roller coaster. But my wife
Okay.
was happy that the mountain roller coaster was not open. So
Oh, I see.
She
I
got
love
something
mountain
out of
roller
it.
coasters. I think they're a ton of fun.
oh, they are. I've only done the one in Estes Park, Colorado, and it was fantastic. This one looks scarier. Like it comes out over the edges, and
Well, you control
that
your
kind of
speed,
thing.
Josh. Don't be
yeah,
such
I
a
know.
wuss.
We'll go. I'm going to go as fast as I can.
Absolutely.
How about you? What's going on with you?
Not much, man. We're getting ready for dance competition season. How exciting is that? I will.
Oh yeah,
be in
you're doing
Ohio.
hip hop, right?
Yeah, I'm doing all my adult hip hop stuff. No, yeah, we'll be in Ohio all weekend for a dance competition. Then we're in Tennessee somewhere next week, and then we're in I can't even remember. 3 weeks from now, we're
Vegas?
In, I mean, it's just never.
They have
never
dance
head out to the West
competitions in
Coast.
Vegas. Can you
They do,
put her on
actually,
the
some of the-
circuit?
Some of the biggest ones in the country are out there. I don't think our
Right.
studio's on that level, so we don't spend that kind of money to head out there. But yeah, just a lot of time getting ready for all that stuff. It's been very busy recently, and I'll be glad when it all wraps up in a few months. But at least for now, we're going to be going every weekend, it seems.
So how far is it for you to get to wherever this is in Ohio?
About 3 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So not
be a fun
terrible. I think
drive,
the longest one we'll do away is usually like 10 or 11 hours for nationals, but nothing too crazy. So with all that said, let's tell people how to get a hold of us. You can send us an email. That's podcast@crapvegas.com. You can join us over on our Facebook page. That's crapvegas.com/Facebook. Josh, by the way, I think I even posted there a couple days ago because I had something I wanted to share, but I can't find it now.
No, it's just one of those things. I'm pretty sure you're the celebrity and you just give me your login and I post as you.
I'm positive I posted it, but I don't know if like one of our moderators took it down or something. They're like, who is this imposter trying to post? But I think it disappeared. I'm not 100% sure.
Well, occasionally I'll tag you in something that I want
know.
your opinion
I see it
on.
occasionally.
Yeah.
I get an email on it. You can always leave us a voicemail. That's crapvegas.com/voicemail. The easiest way is always going to be over on Twitter.
X.
He's at Vegas Duffy. I'm at Small Whale 13, or the show page is at Crap Vegas. Or the last way is going to be over on Patreon. We'd love to have you join us. It's patreon.com/crapvegas. We're even offering a 1-week trial right now. So come in, listen to some episodes, see if it's what you like. And if you do, stick around. If you don't, no harm, no foul.
Yep.
Previous episode feedback. We got an email from Scott. Scott said, "Hey guys, enjoy the show. Just made a karma donation for our upcoming trip to Venetian and Cosmo for the first weekend of March Madness. But while I had you, I thought I'd share 2 thoughts." Look at us, Josh. He's buttering us up with a gift.
That's right. Give us money and we'll read your question first.
What the heck? Okay, his first one. He said, "I chuckled when Josh talked about how he was tempted by some of the last-minute deals he gets for something like a suite with a pool table at Excalibur. I could be mistaken, but I feel like if you guys contacted a host, you guys could get a billiard suite, or hell, maybe even the CEO suite at a place like Excalibur or Luxor. No matter where you wanted to go, I feel like this could happen." Josh?
Well, Scott, first of all, thanks so much for the karma donation. I hope it really does work and bring you lots of luck and good fortune in Vegas. And thanks for supporting the show. I think you're probably right. I bet if we reached out to our PCS or our host at any of those properties, we could. For me, I'd love to have a suite with a pool table. It's just a question of, do I really want to, is it worth it to stay at Excalibur or something like that? And, quite honestly, I'm a little spoiled by what I get at the higher end properties. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, see, I'm torn on it, Josh, because I had never thought of that before because I never even worry about the room that we stay in. But the idea of a pool table in the room sounds so nice because I really do like shooting pool. And I would love to be able to go chill with you and shoot some pool, watch a game or something while we're killing some time during the day. So part of me says, yeah, let's do that. Let's talk to our guy, see what he can hook us up with and go from there. And especially, I was thinking about it more after last episode where you talked about your trip over to Cosmo and you didn't even do all your playing at Cosmo. You went over to Aria.
I went over to Aria,
most of the time. So as much as I don't like to do that, I like to play where I stay. I feel like I could be okay with that, staying someplace that's relatively close to where we like to play and go from there. That means it would have to be almost like a New York, or even a Park MGM, even though I really don't like Park very much, or something like that. Hey, does Vidara have any suites that have pool tables? If it does, that sounds perfect.
That would actually be perfect. I was going to say, you could get the pool table suite at Excalibur. I could stay at Sky Suites, and then I'll just come over to your place occasionally.
Well, I'd have to imagine, Josh, like a pool table suite, that's got to be at least 2 bedrooms, right? See, I could give you a place to crash.
We've talked about that before, Chris. I don't know if I want to share a 2-bedroom suite.
Okay, fair enough. My feelings are hurt a little bit.
I know, I'm sorry.
Jeez.
Connecting rooms, maybe. Adjoining.
Oh, okay, yeah, we've never even had that before. We've been close,
we haven't.
But we haven't been adjoining. Okay, his second piece of feedback here. I enjoy the big wheel. Everything from how much it annoys Chris to how Josh acts surprised by everything that he obviously placed there.
What?
What? Spoilers? Oh, Josh, here you go. Negative. The one thing that makes me cringe every time is the noise the wheel makes when it stops, which isn't like any normal wheel stop. It sounds like someone is choking it to death by jamming a stick in the spokes. Thank you, Scott. I tend to agree with you. He said, enjoy the show and good luck at the table, Scott.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. I remember the first time we played the wheel on whatever show it was way back, and Chris is like, what happened at the end? Did it break?
That's what it sounds like.
It's just the way the wheel hits the last of its little stopper things. That's just what it sounds like.
I guess so. Okay, Josh, we also got an email from Denise. Denise says, hey guys, love your show and really enjoyed hearing about Josh's trip. Questions for Josh. First, strictly based on room and gambling, do you prefer Cosmo or Bellagio?
Room and gambling. Well, after this last trip, I think, I like the vibe at Cosmo. Even though I didn't do a ton of table games play there, so I didn't get a really good feel for the craps tables and that kind of thing.
By a ton, you mean none?
Well, there's that, yeah. Okay. I walked by them. I looked at them.
Okay, yeah, you saw them. You saw the vibe. Yeah.
I saw they have tables.
Yeah.
And I mean, I love we've talked about it before. We love the craps dealers at Bellagio. I like the table locations. I'm just not as crazy about the rooms these days at Bellagio, and I like the food options at Cosmo. I think I'd do Cosmo.
Okay.
So great question, Denise. Chris, what about you?
Yeah, it's a tough one for me. I do like Bellagio. I like playing there. I like Cosmo. Yeah, I think I'd pick Cosmo in this case. I've stayed there a bunch. I have played there a bunch. I've been on every table they got there, I think, at this point. It's a fun place. The vibe is fun. I'm a little too old for it at this point, I think. I've aged
but by
out.
the time we go to bed, that's
true.
when I don't think we're too old for it during the daytime.
No, and especially at 6 a.m. for coffee dice. We're perfect.
Exactly.
So maybe that's what it is. So yeah, I'll go with Cosmo on that one.
Yeah, which is funny because, Bellagio used to be my absolute favorite spot. And now I'm picking Aria up in front of it. I'm picking Cosmo in front of it.
Yeah, tastes change, Josh. We evolve.
It's true.
Okay, and to wrap it up, Denise said, and a food question for you, what do you think is the best meal you had while at Cosmo?
I think it was the Henry. It was the breakfast brunch at the Henry. I liked Secret Pizza a lot, but the Henry was just a really good meal.
I agree. I think it's a really great option for that super late night drunk food, if that's what you're going for, or early morning brunch. It's a great outlet.
But that said, I didn't have it this past trip. But I mean, I've had great experiences at Scarpetta. I really like Scarpetta, Beauty in Essex, or whatever it's called. Essex? XS?
We liked STK
Essex?
when we went there. Essex.
That's true too. Yeah, Essex. Yeah, so I mean, all of those are great choices. But for this past trip, the Henry was my favorite.
Okay, Josh, let's keep it moving. Okay, Josh, so recently I took a trip to my local casino, which we don't always talk about on here.
No.
But I think it's worth talking about this time for a couple different reasons.
I would love to hear about it, as if I didn't
Okay.
know a little bit.
I think you know a little bit of it. But here, let's start off with this, Josh. So, like always, when I get there, I typically go to my local casino right around 7 o'clock at night because that is when they open the traditional craps table. They only have one traditional craps table, and it's only open on Fridays and Saturdays after 7 o'clock. So it's very specific. I know that. But what I really like about it, though, Josh, is they have one table that's always open, one craps table always open, and it's right when you walk in. So you see it. It's dead in front of you. It's a crapless table. I don't particularly like playing at it because it is crapless. But this other table, this traditional table, is way down at the very end of the long pit that they have, and it's completely away from any other table game. So it's by itself with one other crapless table that opens occasionally, but nobody really knows the table's down there. So when I play, I'm typically the only player on the table. Maybe there's one or two others that happen to go down to the bar that's down there like, oh, look, a craps table. And they start playing. But honestly, more people just get mad that it's not a crapless table when they walk up like the one up front that they're used to. So it's actually kind of funny. But anyways, got there on a Friday, 7 o'clock, had a spot saved for me, walked up to the table. I was the only person on the table, bought in, did like I always do. And Josh, it didn't go very well for the first 15, 20 minutes. My best roll was like maybe 6 or 7 rolls. So I was getting back to break even at best, but it just wasn't going very well. But then 2 gentlemen walked up to the table when they saw me rolling. They're like, hey, can we come in? I said, yeah, absolutely. I need a break from throwing anyways. And after those 2 guys came in, now, Josh, these were not KCS shooters.
Okay.
These were not people that were setting dice and doing all sorts of crazy stuff. And more than that, Josh, I don't think that they bought in for more than $100 each.
Okay.
I mean, these were low-level gamblers. That table that I'm talking about is usually a $10 table. I've seen it as cheap as $5. I mean, this is a Friday night, 10 times odds, VIG on win only, full pays on all tall, small. I mean, my casino has some really good stuff when it comes to craps. But anyway, so these guys buy in, Josh. And after maybe 1 or 2 rolls settling in, we got into one of the best grooves I've had in a very long time of not like one shooter killing it. Right. And then everybody else kind of just, sucking gas and just like it's horrible. But this was really 3 good shooters in a row over and over and over again. It was going tremendously well. We were making good money. But something happened, Josh, that I'm curious what your reaction would be. Okay?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so we're in the middle of a great roll. Numbers are getting way up there. My 4 and 10 are both at $500 each. My 6 and 8s are in the 360 range, something like that. And keep in mind, Josh, this table is only a half table. They didn't have the other half
that's
open.
one of those, right?
Because there was no box at the table. So the table maximum at that point is $500. So
that
I'm
was
at
going to be
table
my
max
next question. Yeah, so you're at table
so
max,
I mean, I
right.
couldn't go any higher other than put bets, which is what I would have done a minute later after this happened. Okay, but I got all my numbers pressed up. I'm the shooter. Everything's going really well. And this drunk asshole walks up to the table and buys in mid-roll for $60.
Okay.
Thoughts before I go too much farther?
I'd be so mad. I would not call my bets off because I just hate doing that. And it seems like, I know it doesn't really, but it seems like it always bites me in the ass if I don't call them off.
Yeah, I know.
And
I hear
but
you.
I never do. I just say sometimes I'll do a quick circle at the table or turn around
Yeah.
and try and double cancel the bad luck or whatever. But what'd you do?
Well, Josh, it was even worse than that because not only was he buying in mid-roll, he was buying in after the dice had been sent. I'm literally reaching down to grab him, and he throws his money almost on top of my pass line bet. It's like there's no way to avoid it. It's just there. So I just put my hands up and it's like, okay, yeah, let the guy come in, whatever. They go to cut out $60 in red. Which is ridiculous in the first place that this is what we're doing in the middle of a roll. But then he wants to start arguing because he's like, oh, give me a 1-1-1 on the all tall small. We're like, dude, we're in the middle of a roll. Do you not see all the bets? Do you not see the puck that says on? And he's like, well, I don't care. I still want on the all tall small. And we're like, you can't. Numbers have already been hit. He argued back and forth for a solid 5 minutes. Josh, you want to really get under a good roll. And not only is it you're buying in mid roll, you're interrupting and delaying the restart of it.
Oh man. See, that's where some people will send the dice, not only send the dice back, but like I've seen people ask for new dice.
Yeah.
Here's
So all this happens, Josh, everything's getting delayed. Finally, they get it worked out with him. I told him, I said, man, I will pay you $1 off the feature if it hits at this point. If you just get off the table and let us move on. And he said, oh, okay, I hear you. Sorry about the delay. And then finally, the dice come back. I go to grab them, and I was like, look, this was like a 10-minute delay. I don't do this. But I told my base dealer, Josh, I said, turn my bets off for one roll. What happens, of course, I roll. It's a 4, which would have made me $1,000 because I had $500 on it. And then I was like, gosh darn it. So I was fine, turn them back on. Next roll, 7 out.
See, you just can't win.
You cannot win. I don't care what you do. There's no winning. If I would have rolled it, if I didn't turn them off, it obviously would have been a 7. I do turn them off. It's a good number that would have made me $1,000 and then a 7.
See, that's why I only play the hard 8 when I play the hard ways. And I tell people that because then I don't worry about chasing the number that's hitting or worry about it. Just, I play the hard 8. If it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And I'm happy. So that's the same reason I don't turn my bets off. It's either going to work or it's not. Yeah.
So we never actually made the all in that whole segment, Josh. We were a 11 away, I think 3 different times. 11 kept eluding us. Not 2 and 12.
Couldn't throw a yo? Jeez.
Couldn't throw a yo. I don't know how that happened, but it did multiple times. But at the end of the day, Josh, people always ask me when I post pictures on Twitter and stuff like that, oh, that's good, but how much did you buy in for? I think anybody that's ever played with us knows we're extremely consistent. If I buy in at a table, it is always $5,000. And when I cashed out, Josh, I cashed out for right at about 14.5. So I pretty much tripled up. I was higher than that, and I gave a little bit back just to see if the luck would continue a few shooters later. It kind of stopped after that, but walked away tripling up on my money, which I am always thrilled about. And it was only maybe an hour-long session.
That's fantastic. And so did you go home? What did you do next?
Well, no, Josh, you can't just go home. I've only been there for an hour at this point.
Well, you could.
But I did do a couple other things I wanted to talk to you about. One, on a recent episode, we talked about hot roll video poker. In fact, you brought it up as something that you played. You couldn't give an explanation for it really to help people understand it.
No, not much.
I think we passed it off to Mark and Mike. I have now played it. I can fill people in on it. For anybody that hasn't played hot roll video poker, it's traditional video poker with the only change being that there are dice that can roll. It can happen before the actual initial 5 cards are dealt, and that's typically when it happens. Or it actually can happen after you've received your first 5 cards and you go on the draw. It can happen there as well. And it's whatever combination of dice come out. If it's aces, you get a 2x multiplier. If it's midnight, if it's 12, you get a 12x multiplier, and anything in between. Whatever comes on the dice, any of your hands that you're playing, because I was playing multi-hand, Josh, I was playing 3 hands. All 3 hands get the bonus. It really does increase the variance on the game significantly. It adds a ton of volatility to your money going back and forth. But as somebody that actually likes that, I think it was a lot of fun. And compared to something like Ultimate X Poker, I actually much prefer this. I thought it was a heck of a lot of fun, Josh. I even got a hand pay on it, not with a roll, but I was dealt 4 aces with a kicker on 3 hands.
So did you have any of the dice multipliers?
I did not, unfortunately, but I held that bad boy and waited for the payout. One thing I will say about Belterra, and I think it's like this at many Boyd properties, but it's one of those places where they don't tell you how many tier credits you earn on video poker. And if you look at their website, it even says it's based on the game and the amount of time and how much you bet. I have no clue how many points I earned because even on the machine, it does not tell you. It said 0 the whole time I was playing.
Yeah.
So kind of strange. And I don't know if all Boyd properties are like that and they don't show you anything on the screen or not, but at least mine does. That's a little frustrating because I like to know, even if it's pittance for my play, I want to know if I earned 100 points or something, just to know. So Josh, thought I'd mention that since that was something you talked about recently.
I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun. And honestly, when we go to Vegas together soon, I really want to play it again with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, I don't think they have it at like the video poker bars very often. You can find Ultimate X, but I haven't seen the hot dice thing.
No, I've never seen hot dice at a video poker bar. And even worse than that, Josh, I think it's one of those things where you might see a random machine just interspace throughout the
that was
video
how
poker
I ended
area.
up at the one I was at.
So the odds of us finding one right next to each other are probably pretty small.
But if one of us starts liking Ultimate X and one of us likes that, maybe we find that. Who knows?
There you go. The other thing I wanted to bring up, Josh, played Lightning Link.
Okay.
And I was talking to Josh because I'm sitting at the machine. I was like, I can't go home yet. I played some video poker, killed some time there. One on craps, one on video poker. Everything's going great. Said, well, I got to go into high limit slots for a little bit, try a couple of things. All the games that I usually would play were taken at the time. I said, okay, I'll go play my old trusty Lightning Link and see what I can do on there. Josh, I started off playing $50 spins because things had been going so well that night. So what could possibly go wrong? I mean, I was on a heater. You never walk away from a heater.
No, and that actually goes into what I want to kind of finish your discussion with. So keep going.
We'll get there. So I started playing $50 spins, Josh. I think I blew through $1,000, $2,000. Finally got a bonus at $50. And it was a hand pay, but it was $2,900, which is not exactly the best bonus in the world, but it could have been worse.
Absolutely. That's not bad at all. I would take that.
Yeah,
I mean, $50 a spin is not that great, but.
No, I mean, it was a lot of money not to win the biggest jackpot you'd ever seen. But Josh, I was waiting on that. I had probably, I don't know, $600 left in the machine or something like that after they had already, reset the machine for me while I was waiting for my hand pay. So I kept playing. I was down to almost nothing. I was only playing 25 a spin at this point because the money was almost gone that I wanted to play through at this machine. I didn't want to give any more back.
Right.
And Josh, I hit a bonus feature on a Lightning Link. I got my little $6 amounts up on the screen, but something that had never happened before for me happened. I got not only a minor on the screen, a major as well. And what happened the moment that I got those on the screen?
You called me, which never, Chris and I, once every 3 months,
once in a blue moon, I talked to Josh on the phone. Yeah.
And I'm like,
once in a blue moon, I talked to anybody on the phone.
Somebody died.
No, I called Josh because I couldn't believe it. On the screen, I had a minor and a major. Now, part of me, Josh, was really thrilled. Another part of me was extremely pissed off. Why? Because at my local property, the minor on a $25 bet on a dollar level of play is $5,000, which is amazing. I mean, absolutely nothing to complain about. But the major, it's a progressive, but I don't think anybody ever plays the machine, Josh.
Okay.
So the major was only $5,600.
Right. Well, Chris, it's funny you mentioned that. We'll go back to your stories better, but I was thinking back to when I was playing that NFL slot at Palazzo that I liked so much this last time.
Yeah.
I actually, for the first time ever, hit a major, and it was like $1,300 or something.
Yeah, it's
like,
very depressing.
Doesn't even count, right?
No, so I was a little sad about that, but at the same time, Josh, I was walking into a bonus with already over $10,000 on the bonus, which was a tremendous way to be. I had to call Josh, and I was like, hang out, let's see how this ends up.
And of course, you got 14 of the little
Of course,
or
I
whatever
got
they
14
are.
of the 15 spots filled. And we're down to that last one. I was like, Josh, for the love of God, hold your breath. And do-do-do-do-do-do, nothing, do-do-do-do-do, nothing. And then a third time, the same thing. Unfortunately, that would have been a $67,000 payout, if I remember correctly. That would have been a heck of a lot more.
That's when our
exciting.
agreement comes into play.
And then I would have hung up and say it never happened.
Right.
Is what exactly would have happened. But anyways, the bonus finished off, Josh, about $12,000. It was terrific. I had never hit a bonus at that property for so much. It required 3 attendants to come pay it out. They had to have,
Of course it did.
They had to have their main attendant come over. They had to have a slot technician come over and open up the machine and make sure that nothing had been tampered with.
Malfunction.
And then the slot supervisor for the whole property had to come down and approve it on paper before they would go get the cash.
Well, you put him to work.
I did, and I gave him a nice tip.
That was going to say, the question everybody wants to know is, did you give a nice tip?
I gave $300.
There you go.
I thought that was extremely reasonable on a $12,000 jackpot.
Absolutely.
And
Well,
if
good
somebody has a
job.
problem with that, they can F off because I think that's completely reasonable.
And did you give it all back?
No, that's the one thing nice. And that's really what we told this whole gambling trip for, is to get to that discussion, Josh, leaving a winner. It's one of the hardest things to do, I think, as any sort of gambler, no matter what game it is that you're playing. But the ability to walk away when you're way up and you want to play more because everything's going well, you're on a heater. I had won at craps, I had won at slots, won at video poker. You want to keep going, but just part of me said, I should be happy with this and leave, and I did.
Yeah, I think it's first of all, I think it's so much easier to do. It's easier to do for me, at least, at a local property. Because you're not playing for status as much. You're not playing for your trip. No. You're not playing for any of those things. You can just be done if you're done and go home and do your own thing a lot of times. I think that helps. And I think that, and Chris and I have talked about this before, for me, first of all, you're kind of to back up a pace. It's hard enough to be a winner anytime.
Period. Yes.
We always talk about, we start out down in craps and it just sucks to
the first marker
be down.
Doesn't count, Josh.
Yeah, exactly. First marker doesn't count. Right. So for me, it's Chris, that's one of the benefits of his shorter trips is if we're fortunate enough to have a really good trip, Chris, you can leave a winner and oftentimes have more than I have because I've got another tail end. I've got another 2 days of trip to go, which can go either way. I mean, we've had the opposite happen.
Oh, sure.
Chris has
You've
left
rebounded after we got killed and then you broke even for the trip because you kept playing. Sure, it happens.
Yeah. What I was thinking, and this is I don't know if this happens to you as much, Chris, but it's what I wanted to kind of mention on this show was for me, and it happened at this last trip. I still finished up, but I didn't finish up nearly as much as I was. And it happened the trip before where I had this big winning, I was up quite substantially. And then I kind of go into this mindset where I'm not necessarily upping my average bet on a slot machine. I'm not going from 30 to 60 very often, although I actually did do that, not this last trip, but the trip before. I had this huge, playing on house money, even though I know Mark Duvall, it's not house money.
It's not house money. It's your money. Yeah.
But you're playing on house money. It's burning a hole in your pocket. As my dad used to say, I'm going to play $60 a spinner. I'm going to double whatever I'm playing. On this last trip, it wasn't so much that as I played a different machine. I played, what is it? Mo Mummy? Whatever it's called. No, it wasn't Mo Money. It was the newer version.
The newer. I haven't played that one. We don't have that here.
Well, and I thought, I had this big thing. I'm going to put my $3,000 Tito ticket in there, and I'm just going to play. And I went into the mindset of I'm going to play till I hit a bonus. And for me,
that's not a good bonus. That's not a good mindset to have.
No, it's not a good mindset to have. But it also isn't a good mindset to have when you have this winning cushion.
Yes,
because then you're even more likely to just say, "Oh hell, I'm up. I'll just play."
Just keep going. I'll get it eventually. Yeah,
right. And next thing you know, you've exhausted that winning whatever it was that you were up. And now you're not up anymore. And then that goes through your head about, I was up however much money, $100, $3,000, whatever it was. You've got to get it back. And then when you're down, you're even madder at yourself because where did this big amount that I was up go? How did I do that? So for me, I don't know that there's no answer to this question, but I know that that's a trap that I fall into. I start thinking when I'm up big, oh, this little bit doesn't matter because I'm up so much. And then you lose that. And so on. And it can kind of trickle down. I was lucky that I hit a pretty big hand pay towards the end that actually took me back from being down. I had gone down all that I had been up and I got a little bit of it back, which was good. But it's hard. I think for me, I need to make sure that I maybe even if I'm up big halfway through my trip or something like that to actually try and step those levels down so I don't give it all back.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. And playing locally really makes it a heck of a lot easier. It just does. When you aren't beholden to a property that you're trying to appease, I can tell you right now, I do not care one lick what my Boyd host thinks of me. I just don't. I mean, I see her all the time when I'm there. She'll come to the table and say hi and ask me how I'm doing. Is there anything I can get you? And the answer is always no. She said I'm the easiest person that she has because she never has to do anything for me. And that's probably true. But at the end of the day, do not care if she's happy, mad. I don't care if I'm there. Josh, I've gone up to the property before for like 10 minutes, seen the craps table full, played one slot for a couple $100 and headed home. And, should I? It doesn't really matter to me because it's not going to change anything. I'm not looking for anything out of them. But one thing I do like about that philosophy is I'm going to do my best in 2025 as much as I can to try to keep that same mindset when it comes to Vegas properties.
Yeah.
I'm going to see what I can do to get to the point where I just don't care if they're happy, mad, indifferent, because quite frankly, I do think whether I should or shouldn't, I feel like I stress over it more than I should because at the end of the day, it never really changes that much. Like it just doesn't.
Right.
We've talked about how at Win, our offers have not changed at all. And our gambling
mine
levels,
have by now.
I mean, mine haven't. From day one to now, my offers are almost identical. The only thing that's changed is occasionally they'll offer me like an extra, maybe $500 in promo chips that I didn't get before, a little bit more than before, but not enough to matter. And that's one random weekend a month. Other than that, nothing has changed at Win at all. And even if you're talking a place like MGM or Venetian or something like that, yes, playing heavier, our free slot play or free chips or free bet chips or whatever it is that we get, they may increase and they may go up $1,000.
Right.
But at the end of the day, $1,000 the way we play is meaningless.
Doesn't go very far. Right.
It doesn't really affect anything at the end of the day because it's a drop in the bucket. It's 20% of one craps roll. It's not much.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do my best in 2025 as much as I can to try to maintain that same level of, if I'm up, let's keep it that way. And I think we do a good job on the craps table nowadays, where if we do get way up, we'll typically say one more roll or two more rolls, whatever it is, until it starts, where we don't make enough money in the roll to fund the next roll. We do that really well. I think we don't do as well on the slots, though.
So, Chris, you're saying that I should not have started out booking my April trip with our host at Venetian by saying, this is my first trip to make chairman's tier? That was not
that isn't the mindset that I would have.
First step to go out on.
Especially considering it doesn't seem to offer very much from a benefit perspective.
Well, there's that too.
Don't get me wrong, Josh.
But it would be cool to have.
I like status. I track my points. I pay attention to all that stuff, probably a lot more than I should. But I am going to do my best this year to try to factor in, okay, if things are going well, let's keep it going well. Like another example of ways that I've always in the past, I've kind of shot myself in the foot. Let's say I had a weekend like this before where I went up on a Friday and made all this money, because that was an extremely profitable week. It was well over 20 grand. Right. Really good day for me for an hour or two, whatever it was. Usually on days like that, when it goes really well, what do I want to do the next day if I have free time? Run back up there and see if the luck continues.
Right.
And what always happens inevitably on those trips, I give back 80% of what I won, or all of it, just depending on how bad the day goes. You'll give all that back, and you had such a good day, but you're riding that high of what it feels like when you win. So emotionally, it's really difficult. But I'm trying nowadays to say, okay, if I go up and I plan on going up on a Friday or something that I have free, I'm going up and I'm done for the weekend, no matter how it goes. And if I go to Vegas and we're on a table and it goes really well, we're going to walk away when we have a guaranteed win at some level that we're comfortable with. And on a slot machine, if I hit some sort of big jackpot, I'm going to keep changing the amount I'm going to cash out at, so I don't chase it all the way down to the zero. That is my goal for this year. Who knows what will happen in real time? The good news is I don't really drink that much, so it's usually not alcohol forcing bad decisions. It's just a love of gambling. But
That's it for me too, yeah.
So we'll see how it goes in 2025. But, if you have a tip or suggestion on how you ensure that you walk away a winner, or a system that you use that helps you walk away when things are going positively, I would love to hear about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I would too, because as I said, it's a struggle that I have. I mean, it's hard enough just, as I said, to get up, let alone leaving a winner. So it's hard for me. It's just really difficult because I tend to want to put that money back in at quicker, at a quicker pace even.
I agree, Josh. After the break, we will answer a few listener questions, probably spin that big wheel Josh loves so much, even with that grating sound at the end that drives everybody insane, and a couple other things, so stick around. Josh, you're not going to believe it, but one of our listeners and a fellow craps player, DG Elizabeth, whose name is actually Daphne, has published a book, and it's something that we would all be interested in. The Velvet Room. It tells the story of Chandler, a gifted math mind who navigates the high stakes of both academia and life, only to fall prey to a dangerous addiction to gambling and a life in the underground casino world. Struggling to reconcile his analytical mind with his desire for thrill, he discovers that while numbers may predict the odds, there are some things in life you can never plan for.
Wow, Chris, that sounds fun. I do have a question, though. As someone, since we used to do ads for Audible, and I'm not much of an actual reader these days, I tend to listen to things. Is this available in the audiobook yet?
Oh, you know what? I didn't ask her that, but I'm going to assume the answer is no, because she didn't mention. I know it's on paperback, hardback, and Kindle, but I didn't hear anything about audiobooks. So do you have suggestions on who should, reenact this for me?
Oh, that's a really good question. I have to read the story to get a sense of who the, what voices would be best and that kind of thing. It wouldn't be me. I'm going to say it's not me, not even having read it yet.
I don't particularly want to do it either. Although I will say, Josh, I received an advance copy of this book since she was a listener of the show. It was great. It was a quick read. It was fun. I really liked it. Some of the areas even felt like it mimicked my own life other than some of the crazier things that happened. So it was just a lot of fun. It's like 200 pages. Highly recommend people pick it up. You can fly through it.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. I'll have to put on my reading glasses.
So to purchase your copy today, visit her website over at velvetroombook.com, or you can grab it on Amazon. She's got an author page over there. It's amazon.com/author/DG Elizabeth. Zorkfest 2025. It's almost here, Josh, right? It's coming. We're right there.
It is. We're less than a year away.
Oh, good. Now,
I think we were less than a year away after the last Zorkfest, but
we probably were. Has a location been announced yet?
Las Vegas.
Other than that,
not that I've heard.
Well, that's good though, Josh. I'm glad you said that because that means that our listeners can still get pre-sale tickets for $218.88 by going over to the Travel Zork website and picking those things up. Because I think the price changes as soon as the actual property's announced.
All right, I'll take your word for it. So get those advance tickets now. Chris, I think we should take a minute, and we sometimes do this, to actually talk about Travel Zork itself rather than Zorkfest, since it is a ways away. My wife and I were talking about a trip. We went 10 years ago on a trip to Ireland. And right now, I don't know how your kids are with flying, but our kid isn't really all that crazy right now about flying.
Okay.
And so I was talking to someone about ways to break up a long trip like that to Ireland, and someone suggested going to Iceland, making a stop in Iceland. So that got me thinking about just a trip to Iceland and seeing the Northern Lights and doing all that kind of stuff. And that's the kind of trip, really some fun trip like that Travel Zork and Michael Traeger and the team at Travel Zork would be great to help you out on. If you want to do a trip like nothing you've ever done before, if you really want to live it up and have a VIP experience, Michael and the team at travelzork.travel would be a great place to go. Michael is fantastic at answering questions, about offering suggestions, about really getting a feel for what you want as a great experience on a trip and working to make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, Josh is right. Head on over to travelzork.travel today. Get your plans in there. Michael will get you all set up, and I'm sure you'll have a great time. Okay, let's start the questions off with an email from Morty. Morty said, "Hey guys, currently going through this situation, thought I would run it by you two, and it would be a good question for the show. For the past 8 years or so, I've been a Diamond Plus member with Caesars. As their rooms have deteriorated, Diamond lounges have closed, and getting assigned a new host every 90 days, I felt like it was finally time to jump ship. I decided 2025 would be the year I gave MGM a real shot. We have a family tradition with my in-laws to go to Vegas for Super Bowl weekend, and we just finished our 13th consecutive trip. Over that 3-night trip, I earned 20,000 tier credits, strictly from slots and craps, getting me to Pearl. We stayed at Cosmo and loved it, but when I went to the host on duty to ask if they could review my play and potentially my $200 room charge, they said there was nothing they could do, which was fine. It just never hurts to ask, but here lies my question. I feel like 20,000 tier credits earned should be enough to at least get an email or something from a PCS or someone I can contact back and forth. I know I'm no whale and truthfully don't expect to get hosted, but having a point of contact for future trips would make me feel better about the switch to MGM. Being from Texas, we go to Vegas 4 to 5 times a year, more depending on the number of W2Gs we obtain, which at 20,000 tier credits or more per trip, would put me somewhere between gold and platinum status by the end of the year. So how do I go about getting a marketing executive or whatever they are called assigned to me? Is it something I can call the main line and ask for? Is there a trigger that alerts them of my play? They review it and auto-assign me someone? All feedback is welcome. Love the show and appreciate you both for all that you do."
Well, Morty, thanks so much for the email. I'm glad you had a good time, and thanks for your support of the show. That's a tough one. We know that MGM, and this is true kind of at every level, but particularly for lower level players, MGM is stingier with comps, with rooms, with everything than Caesars. That's one of the great parts about starting out on the Caesars rewards side of things, is you're more likely to get rooms and all that stuff. And I don't know the criteria that MGM uses for to assign you a PCS, as we call them. But I would say over the course of a few trips, if you're reaching gold or close to platinum level, that would seem to me to be a reasonable point that they would email you. I don't know if there's a way to reach out proactively other than going to the host desk on property, but at some point, if your play reaches whatever their criteria is, they'll reach out to you. What do you think?
Yeah,
Chris?
I think you've taken the right first step in approaching a host on duty to see if there's anything they can do. I mean, and as you learn, there's nothing wrong with being told no. It might hurt your feelings a little bit, but it doesn't hurt you at all. And,
Right.
on the positive side, they could have said yes. PCS assignment, it feels like you see people getting them at platinum by default, no
Yeah.
matter what their play's been like. So it seems like at that point, they auto-assign one to you. But before that point, I think it's just play-driven. It's just, are you hitting an ADT level in their system that generates a name being assigned to a person? The only thing I could say is maybe reach out to one. And if you're looking for the info on somebody that's a PCS, check the Crap Vegas host database. There's a couple on there
Yeah.
that are MGM PCSs. So you're welcome to go check those people out. Their contact info is probably on there. If they're not, let us know. We can get you some. But, it never hurts to shoot an email and say, hey, I found your info here and I just wanted to see if it's something you could help me with on my next trip. There's no downside to them doing it. I'm sure they'd be glad to help.
Yeah. And Morty, one thought I had just as Chris was talking is you may have been hurt a little bit by the fact that this was Super Bowl weekend.
Oh,
That
for sure. Yeah.
They are, prices are jacked up, even though Super Bowl in Vegas was down a little bit. Prices are jacked up still. There's so many people. That could have hurt you in some way or another, especially talking to the host. I mean, they're probably overwhelmed with bigger players, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I feel like we'd have to have a little bit more information from you on the games that you're playing, the length of time, average bet, and all that stuff for us to give a more educated answer on should you be hosted or not. 6,000 points-ish a day. You said it was a weekend. So if this truly was 3 gaming days and 20,000 points, 6,000 isn't a ton for MGM. So it's possible that you just didn't hit the threshold that they're looking for. Maybe if that was spread over 2 days instead of 3, you'd be closer. I'm not sure their exact amounts, but if you want to share more details, we'll be glad to look at it another time for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Josh, we got an email from Bill. He said, hey guys, I'm planning to travel to Vegas over a weekend from a Friday night to a Monday morning. Where I am staying is having a points multiplier offer on Sunday and Monday while he's there. Knowing this, how would you allocate your spend throughout the weekend? Would you play as normal and let the chips fall where they may? Plan to play longer on higher denominations that Sunday? Something else? I'm leaning towards playing on Friday and Saturday at a moderate level, then upping the time and maybe denom on Sunday. Some of that is dependent on results from the non-promo time of the trip, obviously. Curious to hear your take on this, Bill.
Well, thanks, Bill. I think I'm inclined to do the same thing as you. I mean, if I were concerned about points and that kind of thing, I would try and maximize my play on those days where the multiplier kicked in, that Sunday, Monday. That said, particularly if it's at the end of your trip, you've got to be comfortable with, what if you've had a bad run, that kind of thing. Are you going to want to kind of dump more money in at a higher level if you're down, that kind of thing. So just kind of think about what mindset you might have as you go through. But that's what I would say. I mean, if it's important to you, if you want to accumulate those points, which I get, I would try and do it on the days where the multiplier is.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think Josh's response is pretty valid. And I think, Bill, you're heading the right direction. Take it a little easier maybe the first couple days and save your big day, if that's what you want to call it, for a day where you're going to get the full multiplier in effect. But I definitely wouldn't let it change your overall, feel for the weekend and what you do and how much fun you have. If you want to play heavy, play heavy. The 3x multiplier is great, but it's not going to change anything.
Right.
Question from Timmy over on the CV Facebook group. How many times on a roll do you regress your bet? Or do you regress at all? I've implemented a new strategy that after every point, I will regress to minimum across. While this does limit profits on long rolls, it's been a huge saver of my bankroll, and majority of the time, I always walk with profit. So congratulations on that, Timmy. Josh, what are your thoughts?
Well, Timmy, I think we never regress.
Never.
And there was actually a reply, Chris, on the Facebook group from a listener named Doug that I wanted to share with you. He said he only plays craps a few times a year at most on Vegas trips. So when he's there, he's YOLOing and praying for the monster roll.
Okay. I mean, I understand that. If you're only going to play a couple
our
times a year, you might as well go for it.
Right. I mean, in a way, that's why we don't regress. I don't want to, I understand there's some, our friend and patron Trey regresses. There's lots of you that regress. And it can be a very successful money management strategy. It's just not the fun way that I like to play.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if we're just talking about walking away with more money, then regression is a terrific idea. And regressing after every point is made, that's great. Because if you get one of those 0.7s, you're going to come out far better than a lot of the people that didn't do that. More power to you. Again, there is no system that's going to make you a winner. It doesn't matter how you play. Regressing does not make you any more likely to be a winner than if you don't regress. It really doesn't matter at the end of the day. But, that being said, that's just not how we like to play, so we don't. But no problems with you doing it. If that's the way you like to play, let's do it.
And Timmy, as has been said before, if any of us get a 45-minute roll, it doesn't matter if you're a regressing strategy, if you're a power press strategy, you're going to walk away a winner.
Yeah, absolutely. Josh, we got a question from Derek over in the Facebook group as well. What is the consensus on bubble craps? Is it play or avoid? A very simplistic question, but you're going to hear a lot of different opinions from people on this.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it a little bit before. I like bubble craps. I like bubble craps for a change of pace. If I'm trying to play on a really low bankroll, if I'm just wandering through the casino and want to kill some time, oftentimes, I won't stick my player's card in or whatever.
You're not going to get points anyway, so.
It's a great way, as we've talked about, to learn craps. Can be.
Yes.
It can be some time pressure and things like that. But a lot of people, there's, speculation that it's rigged in some way or it's less random or, whatever. And I don't believe any of that. I think it's just as the dice are going to be rolled the same way as the normal craps table unless you're setting them properly and all that kind of stuff. I say that tongue in cheek.
Yeah, I hear you. No, I think bubble craps is great. I really do. I don't play it very often, but at least from a learning perspective, if we're talking like the individual bubble craps machines, not the ones where you're sitting around one bubble in the middle and it's push the button, not that junk, but the actual individual bubble craps machines, I think those are terrific, especially for people that are learning to play the game. You can take your time and look at the bets, see the layout, how it looks on the screen, which is going to be very similar to a table, just kind of truncated a little bit. You're going to see all those different things, what they pay. Even better than that, Josh, if you're betting lower dollar amounts, it typically pays correctly based off the bet because you don't have to worry about what chips are on the table. So if you want to make a $2.06, it will pay you properly on a $2.06.
There we go.
So, I mean, it's pretty cool. I don't like the fact that you typically don't earn any points for playing it. So you're not really getting credit for that money that you're putting in play, and that rubs me the wrong way. There's also some issues if you're going to play some higher dollars through it. You run into the issue of getting paid on W2Gs for relatively small wins. So if you're having a super hot roll, you're going to get locked up on that machine, which is never great. But that being said, Josh, other than that, I think bubble craps is great.
Yeah, exactly.
Finally, Josh, we got an email from Robin over at the Anytime Gambling website. Robin said, "Hi, guys. Just listened to the latest pod with Hot Roll Poker." Oh, he's talking about Hot Roll Poker, Josh. Exactly what we were talking about. Look at that, tied in. With Hot Roll Poker, both the dice and the multiplier amount are random, no connection to previous hot rolls. However, you can receive that random dice before your hand is dealt or after if you choose to hold cards fewer times. A lot of people play this VP novelty game here in Connecticut, that and Ultimate X variations. So yeah, I think a lot of things we talked about a little bit earlier. Robin, thank you for chiming in with that. I really liked it, and I'm definitely looking forward to playing it again.
Yeah, Robin, it's great to hear from you. I've kind of known of you for a while, known Anytime Gambling for a while. I think I met you at Zorkfest, and thanks for your support of the show. I'm glad you're finding us. I'm becoming more and more a fan, as I said, of video poker. For me right now, it's primarily double bonus. I'm still learning all the terms and that kind of thing, and now I'm kind of liking this hot dice thing. Boring Jacks trying to get me into Ultimate X on the next trip, so we'll see. I'm branching out.
Yeah, and just to clarify, anybody that's not familiar with Robin's work, that's the letters NE as in New England, timegambling.com.
The funny thing is he's based in Bermuda. I'm just kidding.
He's actually in Kentucky.
That's right.
He's your neighbor. Okay, Josh, let's keep it moving. Patreon, that's patreon.com/crapvegas. Josh, what's new over there?
Well, we had everybody's favorite show, a casino earnings call. This last CVP show was our look at the most recent, let's say, Q4 of 2024's win and MGM earnings calls. That sounds really boring, and at the beginning we kind of thought it was, but people really like it. Basically, what I do is I listen to the MGM, I listen to who's ever it is, casino earnings calls, where the stock comes out the quarter end, that kind of thing, and it's a lot of financial stuff. But I'm listening to that, and I'm trying to pick out things that I think might be interesting about Las Vegas or gambling in general, or how things are looking for casinos. And then Chris and I talk about those.
Yeah, it's not financial advice or anything like that. It's more like general directions of gambling. What are they seeing coming up in the next year? What are big projects that maybe haven't been talked about much that are coming up that they release on there? So we always find a couple fun things to talk about. I really enjoyed this most recent one, Josh. So I encourage everybody to go check it out. use that free trial. Go over and listen to it. See if you like it. You may like it. I can tell you this. The first one we did, I hated. I was like, why are we doing this, Josh? And here I am. I actually really look forward to them now. I think they're a lot of fun.
Yeah, they are.
So a big thank you to everybody that signed up over the past 2 weeks. That is Paul S., Chris, Big Panda, and
You
Travis
subscribed?
A. No, I didn't. I get free access, Josh, thankfully. But Chris didn't have a last initial, so I'm not sure what it was. But and Travis A, though, Josh, Travis A was a KCS member, so a special shout out to him.
Thank you, guys.
And Josh, I completely forgot that we even take PayPal donations. There's a link on our website over at crapvegas.com/donate, I think, but there's a button on top of the page. For some reason, we got multiple PayPal donations in a 2-week period when we hadn't seen any in a while. So a big shout out to these people because we don't even talk about it. That's Jamie P. Jamie said, love the podcast, boys. Thank you, Jamie. Chad B. said, karma donation for this week's trip to Vegas. It's a Josh 5-night trip for work and pleasure, trying out Fountain Blue.
Good luck.
And a big thank you to Scott M. as well, Josh, who we heard from earlier in the episode.
So Jamie, Chad, Scott, thanks so much for the PayPal donations, for the karma donations. I hope you have great success. I hope they really do. It really does bring you good karma. We appreciate it a lot. We don't expect those. If you want to support the show, we're more than happy to take karma donations and hope that it works. We'd also just love for you to subscribe over on Patreon. We're really happy with what we do over there. So either way of supporting us, we love. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing to announce, Josh, before we move on, people had asked us if we're doing a March Madness bracket challenge. We are doing one for our patrons. It's going to be over on patreon.com/crapvegas. You'll see the links on there. We're actually going to do a couple different ones. We're going to do a free one for the men's and women's bracket this year. We're doing both genders. We're very equal here. There's going to be some prizes for that as well. And then for those that always ask us, hey, why don't you guys do like a bigger buy-in one, almost like we did with our fantasy football league? We're going to offer a $50 high rollers bracket for anybody that's interested in doing that. And we'll have all the details over on the website by the end of the week.
Perfect.
Upcoming trips, Josh, I am going to be out in Vegas March 14th through the 16th, staying over at Palazzo. It'll be my first Vegas trip of the year in March. How crazy is that?
That's crazy. Crazy.
Yeah, it doesn't seem right, but I am very excited to get out there and see what's going on.
Yeah, I'm excited for you to be there. Get your Vegas legs back under you again. I'll be around at the beginning of April 4th through the 8th, I think. And the plan is to stay that whole time at Venetian Palazzo also.
Ooh, that would be really exciting. So I guess we're finding a new favorite property this year. Friendly reminder, subscribe and leave a review on your favorite podcasting app, and to visit our merch store. That's crapvegas.com/shop. We have all that stuff on sale on there still. Some stuff has disappeared, but I still got plenty of stuff I'd love to get rid of. So head on over there and see what you like. But Josh, we made it this far, so I feel like we got to spin that broken wheel.
Oh, yes, we have to. It's expected.
It's time to spin the Crap Vegas Big Wheel. Are you ready? Josh, spin the wheel.
Okay, I'm listening very closely as it's spinning to how it ends. Oh,
Holy cow, Chris and Scott. You won't believe what came up on the wheel.
jeepers, Batman, what you got?
So, Chris, I don't know if you know this, but you know the old Donald Rumsfeld, there are known unknowns and unknown knowns and all that.
Yes.
I think that this is an unknown known. Like, I think I didn't know this, but you may know this. There are probably listeners that know this, but there is an event coming up on March 7th in Las Vegas. Also, when you're there on March 14th, and no, it's not the Backstreet Boys at the Sphere. That did not come up on the wheel this week, surprisingly.
Interesting.
It's the Soak Las Vegas Couples Hot Water Clothing Optional Spa Burn event.
Okay.
At the Sea Mountain Resort.
Boy, that was a lot that you just threw all in that.
Have you
one
ever heard
thing.
of the Sea Mountain Resort?
No, haven't heard of that.
I
haven't heard
hadn't
of this
either.
event.
So I started looking around it when I read about this event coming up. I started looking. Sea Mountain event is Sea Mountain Resort is, I guess, this big thing. It's been in TMZ. It's been on Playboy.
Okay.
It's apparently known. So here's what the website says. A Las Vegas temple, a Las Vegas clothing optional club, Las Vegas steaming pools, Las Vegas's only 24-hour dance club at the Sea Mountain Spa, just 3 minutes from the Las Vegas Strip, 6 minutes from the airport, 1 second from Naked Passion, every day, every day and night of your life, especially on March 7th, apparently. No matter the weather, the most romantic resort in the world with fire pits, indoor love areas.
This sounds better than the Green Door.
I know.
Do
It's
they have food? I'm there.
I don't know. It's $189 for two. No, they're not sponsoring us.
Promo code Crap Vegas gets you nothing.
There is a catch, though, Chris, that might impact you on your next trip. You can only go as a couple or a woman.
Was that a shot at me?
Not exactly.
Not exactly, but yes.
It would apply to me on my next trip too. So
I mean, Josh, that sounds very exciting. You know me, the guy that doesn't even like going to the strip clubs. That really sounds like heaven to me.
Totally. I was going to ask you though, Chris, have you ever done, or would you ever do one of the like community hot tub type places?
No, that's
or do you
not my
think they're
scene.
just gross?
I just think it's gross. And especially if we're talking an event like that, because there's going to be more bodily fluids than I ever want in water that I'm sitting in.
There used to be a place in Seattle, this is back in like the 80s, called Tubs. That was a hot tub rental place, you know, and I remember people talking about all the stuff that went on in tubs.
I mean, when I used to go to Steamboat a lot to ski, they have like strawberry hot springs and stuff up there, Josh, natural hot springs that people love. I've done that before, and I don't think that's too terribly bad, but what you're describing sounds pretty horrible.
Anyway, if any of our listeners have ever gone to the Sea Mountain Resort, whatever it was called, clothing optional, soak, spa, burn event.
Yes, please let us know.
All right, should we spin the wheel again?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Bet you weren't expecting that one.
That I wasn't.
Ooh, Chris, it's a rip from the headlines.
Ooh.
So what's better than a little true crime Vegas style? So this is actually a true story that I found in the Las Vegas Review Journal just the past days. If you've heard the story, let me know. But I was reading this story and I'm like, there is nothing more Vegas, it seems to me, than this story. This is the headline, Chris. Police say man kidnapped Las Vegas business owner after wife stole $20 million.
Okay.
Police have accused a Henderson man of abducting the owner of a construction company where his wife worked after an IRS investigation found that she had embezzled $20 million. William Costa was arrested this past week, faces charges of kidnapping, conspiracy, battery. An IRS report found that Costa's wife stole $20 million from Gilmore, that's the victim's company, Gilmore Construction, over a 7-year period.
Okay.
She was the financial controller. So on February 20th, here's the details. Crash became kidnapping, the headline says. On February 20th, Gilmore left his house to drive to the office.
Mm-hmm.
He noticed at one point a purple Lamborghini at a stop sign, which matched the vehicle the IRS told him that the wife had purchased with the money she had embezzled. While he was looking at the Lamborghini, Chris, a Chevy Suburban rear-ended his vehicle. A man who seemed friendly and apologetic got out of the Suburban to speak to him, but then showed him photos of his wife and children. A second man got out of the Suburban, punched Gilmore in the neck, and forced him into the Suburban. The suspects placed the Gilmore, that's the victim's iPhone and Apple Watch, in a signal-blocking bag so that his devices couldn't be tracked, restrained him with zip ties, and after a 10-minute drive, they transferred him to a truck where they punched him in the stomach, took him to the desert, told him to get out on his knees, and they held a gun to the back of his head. He thought he was going to die at that point. They gave him two options. The good option,
dig your own grave.
The good option was to tell the IRS the money was given as a gift or investment for a business to get the charges dropped. The bad option was that if Gilmore couldn't make the charges go away, they would kill his family. He then talked to the police and so on.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds...
I mean, you think really the mafia is dead. That sounds really...
I know, it feels like part of Casino, the movie and the book.
Doesn't it? This is real life.
It does kind of feel ripped away from it there. I always wonder in those situations, Josh, I mean, as somebody that is a finance guy that runs the finances of a pretty large company, I never understand how these businesses can have $6-7 million disappear in a year and nobody notices.
Well, it was $20 million over 7 years. It said.
I think you said 3 years.
No, 7 years. 7? Yeah.
Okay, well, even $3 million a year.
Yeah, that's still,
that's a significant amount of money just to be disappearing that nobody's noticing. Where are the controls in these places?
Well, she was the controller.
Well, yes, but Josh, this is why we have
oh, no, I know.
segregation of duties and all these other important things in businesses to make sure that one person isn't in charge of everything. That being said, but yeah, that is crazy. I'm glad the guy's still okay. I assume she's going to jail soon.
I think that lots of people are going to jail, right?
Yeah, probably more than one. Yeah,
But yeah,
that's probably safe
what
to
a
assume.
Vegas story, though.
That is
I
a
saw that
Vegas
and I'm like,
story
yeah.
for you. It could happen anywhere, but Vegas makes it a much more beautiful setting for it.
And they dropped the guy off at the M Resort, so it all ties in back.
Oh, that's
to,
okay.
You know,
That's all
yeah,
nice then, as long as they dropped
exactly.
him off at a nice place.
Got a nice place to go play after this incident.
Anything else, Josh, this week?
No, that's what I've got. I'm excited for your trip coming up. Really excited for you to get back to Vegas. I'm super excited for my trip, even though it's
Sure.
more than a month away. But
Yeah, I can't wait to get there. And if anything exciting happens at my local property soon, I'll let you know.
thanks.
Okay, guys, we'll talk to you soon. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Vegas, here we come.
Thanks for listening to the Crap Vegas podcast.
Have you ever been to Vegas?
Check out all our recent news and our Vegas trip calendar by visiting crapvegas.com.
See you in Vegas.
You can join us over on Twitter. He's at Vegas Duffy. I completely skipped over
Yeah, you missed it. I was already.
It really increases a lot of why can't I think of the word
Variance?
for here? Yeah, variance. Why? I'm getting old, man.
You having a stroke mid-show?
I think so. Is my face sagging this way?
As I said, it's a struggle that I have. I mean, it's hard enough just, as I said, to get up, let alone, sorry, I was going to say when you're old.
I thought about making the joke, but I didn't.
Okay, Chris.
Sorry. I'm angry, Josh.
You're pissed off and you're not going to take it anymore.
Perfect.